They had against CFO where they got so close to progressing on through that upper bracket, but gonna have to have some redemption here, and I feel like the player to be able to do it is likely to be Solo Kill, honestly. That guy has looked so good for the majority of the split, maybe faltering a little bit, but Nah versus Gragas, I have to favor him a little bit. Gragas going for the phase rush, so we'll be able to sort of dip and dive in those trades up in top. Phase rush also taken by Maokai here.
I think the phase rush on the Gragas is pretty interesting because I think the phase rush is normally taken on Gragas when you're against some melee that you want to short trade against. You know, just kind of go in with that WEQ and then walk out afterwards. But against Nah, you kind of don't feel like that's how it's going to play out. You know, more about kind of delivering poke with Q. I guess we'll just have to see how the matchup goes, but it's definitely more of a scaling choice as opposed for the laning phase. Everything else, though, seems pretty normal. I mean, like you said, there is that phase rush picked up by the Maokai, something that's been kind of dabbled with before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think importantly, Kitewing not so much on a playmaking champion this game, but has... I mean, Frank, the side of Frank have looked so good at this Lucian Nami in the past. Obviously, have a good win rate on it, and on it, they look the strongest on it, at least during our regular split, so... We'll have to see if he can have as much impact on this Nami as he generally does on the likes of Leona Nautilus, especially since those support item buffs. Take a look at all the lanes, it's sort of going as you'd expect.
Yeah, some nice damage traded in bot side. And like you said, I think Frank probably are our best Lucian Nami team. I think that not only are they, you know, a strong early game team, but they're just clean enough that they don't often give a lot of kills back as the side of CFO might. Even though CFO... you know, did come out on top. It was still quite a messy performance, I have to say, from both teams. And mid lane, you know, kind of going as expected. A little bit of trading back and forth. Not expecting really anything to come of the 1v1. Instead, could be more of the 2v2, especially from the Lissandra Lee set. And I think it is always a little weird to play LeBlanc with an AP jungler, because LeBlanc is a very strong solo AP and also kind of prefers an AD ganking jungler, something that can pressure the lane a lot. But obviously the Maokai does bring pretty strong scaling, and it's like the ganks are decent still, it's just kind of hard to actually fight. We'll see. Hollow, he was spotted out, might check into Hana here, could be in trouble.
We'll just back away, be okay with that. He did lose the Raptors as we saw, but actually coming here to make sure Pretender's okay, put down the sapling. It's nice to use his defense, I think it lasts 45 seconds and then can't really gank through that anymore as Pretender gets an amazing trade, really, onto Nesty there in the mid lane.
This is looking good for sure. Side of DCG's bot lane, they're going to just ward this try. A lot of control in the river established right now. And wise, I think, by Nesty to pick up that null magic mantle so early is against that double AP mid jungle, and that allows, you know, a very easy itemization of either just the null magic or even the Merc treads, which can make things extremely difficult. And you're really going to be relying on, you know, if you do have early skirmishes around the bot side, kind of M&M to bring that damage instead. Oh, the red is checked out by Ana, but was already taken away here by Hollow and the Maokai. Both TPs traded for mids, and despite the trades going in Pretender's favor, the CS is slightly towards Nesty at the moment. Obviously, there is some waves to be picked up here. Going to grab both scuttles, it looks like. So really just kind of using that advantage in the jungle matchup as well as some of the mid push to secure that. Hollow, he is kind of in the back of bot side here, but does just go for the reset. It's going to swap back to top side. As we check in on the top matchup, Roselicle's still full HP, has Hanabi fairly low on mana, but it always feels like when you're up against the Gragas that if you don't get a whole lot done before his first base, you kind of lose the window to really hard punish him. You know, if they do go for that Catalyst build especially, becomes so difficult as Cruscata.
Cruscata will be going down now, Eminem picking up first blood of the series onto that Lucian.
That's such a massive win there for Frank, and I want to see how that happened. It was both sums traded out by the ADCs, but that's such an insane pickup, right? We normally kind of see the way the Lucian Nami lanes work is that they're very strong in skirmishing, but they don't often find that 1v1 lead. It's more other people moving around the map that actually enables them to kind of, you know, really get things going. But here it's just in the straight 2v2, even without the Ignite as well. Let's see how it happens. So Cruscata, level 3 versus level 4, dodges out the bubble but moves too far forward and just takes so much damage. Does not respect the fact that, the level 4 Lucian as well as that giant creep wave just puts out so much damage, and it's a big mistake there, I think, from Cascada. Take a look at the item difference in bot lane. It's Pickaxe Dirk up against Vamp Scepter. And one thing that's real important about that is if Lucian Army gets ahead enough, they can just zone you completely off the wave, and then you can't even put your Vamp Scepter to use.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw yesterday what can happen, really, when a Lucian does get ahead. And it's a bit dire now, honestly, for this bot lane. Maybe they can look for some reprieve and possibly Nesty and Hana coming down here, but Eminem getting so aggressive, looking for those trick shots with that Q. And it will be likely the tank Maokai. I mean, that actually could also be Moonstone coming out from him this game. We'll have to see where he goes, but it isn't going to be the Demonic Embrace at least.
I think that does make sense, right? They do have a fair amount of magic damage with the LeBlanc as well as just the Lucian Nami magic damage. Dragon is checked here by Hana, but there's a lot of vision, so he's going to have to clear all that out. And there is the Catalyst picked up by Hanabi, so going to be very immovable in that top side. Doesn't get the tier, though. We'll have to see if he ends up going for that later, or if he's just going to play Gragas without it, because I think you don't really need it, but it can feel nice, and we see that gone for often. It is double Merc trades as well in the mid lane for both sides. Cascada, he's going to push in this wave. He has jungle behind him, and Hana's spent a long time here making sure these waves go in. So while there is no punish really that can come out from Frank, it's kind of lost tempo, and you always feel as Lee Sin that you want to be pressuring lanes to kind of get leads, not just keeping them safe.
Yeah,
Dragon has started
Dragon. So I guess that is a bonus. You're losing this bot side, but because of all the time Hana has spent down here, you do manage to pick up that first Dragon. And again, Frank are a team that like to get ahead early. They are in gold, but taking away that Dragon can give you a little bit of extra time to get some scaling onto this Aphelios. And at the items he's at right now, he certainly will need it. Pretender now heading top, looking like they might try for a dive, but Gragas, certainly not the easiest. Nah is used as well as Explosive Cast. Nice body slam there to deny any damage from the distortion of LeBlanc, and he will be okay to just walk out of this.
Very questionable roam here, I think, from Pretender. I don't think there's any way that you can kill this Catalyst Gragas, especially when both the LeBlanc and Na have gone for Merc trades. There's just so many, kind of aggressive or offensive stats, you would say, missing from the play. And then the LeBlanc combo as well was a bit strange. Obviously does just get the W cancelled there by the Gragas. So is punished out by Nesty being able to crash that wave and kind of get a free reset in. And nice by Hanabi as well to just avoid that. The Herald is now up. I'd be surprised if anyone looks towards it for now. Both junglers kind of poor tempo on the map.
Yeah, wave building bot lane heading towards the side of Frank. And honestly, that feels a bit dangerous for this Aphelios Lulu. Aphelios now will have access to that Moonlight Vigil as he does hit level 6. Culling now matched though for Eminem, and we've seen before, especially yesterday, how much damage that Culling can do even at this low levels.
Certainly can, especially once you get that Dirk. Just adds so much damage to the combo, and Pretender has to be very careful dashing in. He's got the Mercs obviously, but there is so much damage that can come out of Nesty and Hana, especially with the Ignite as well, in just such a short amount of time. Looks like though everything will kind of be diffused for now. Hollow, he's gonna try and check this area. Does have that bot priority at least for now. Does spot out Hana, knows that blue was leashed. Just going to provide a little vision for his team and maybe go back to his side. Nice trade there again from Pretender. Is doing well given that he blind picked.
Yeah, Culling comes out. Orchid down to half health now. Massive damage coming out of that Culling as bot lane's looking quite hard. They're almost at 20 CS deficit now. Rough times.
It really is, and the Vamp Scepter obviously doesn't help if Orca is the one getting chunked out instead. Something you can do is, just target the person without sustain and then kind of force Cascada to back away from the tower as a result. Obviously, it's very difficult to walk up in that 1 versus 2. Nesty is going to go for a reset and does not have the TP because he is holding on to the Ignite, so perhaps will lose a few creeps here. As Pretender as well will match the base. 2 more minutes on the next Dragon. Herald hasn't really been looked at. There's just been too much pressure kind of around the Herald around the bot side for them to really look at it.
Will be looked at now though with Frank having first rotation towards this with their bot lane. Pretender recalling here. I wonder if he looks to teleport in.
I think he will.
Or he might go bot to answer the Aphelios potentially, I suppose. But you would expect him. Yep, here it comes onto that mid tower. Importantly, they will likely pick up this Rift Herald now. but it does give Cascada a bit of time alone in this bot lane to pick up some uncontested CS.
Yeah, you have to see if Cascada can push the bot wave in time and manage to get some plates. It can be sort of scary, I think, starting up the Herald against an Aphelios, because especially with the white gun can just get so much done on the other side of the map. It looks though that I think Frank will be able to get down there in time. I think really like this play here from DCG to at least delay the Frank Esports bot lane for returning there.
Pretender going to be caught out a little bit, but in fact it's going to be turned around as Hana has to use the Wild Growth to get out of there. He is so low. Cascada picking up a turret plate on the bottom side though.
Does only get one, and Hana managed to hold on to his flash, so it wasn't really any sums used there, but I think nice for Cascada to just kind of salvage a little bit of that. Really eyes will be on where this Herald should go, and I'd be kind of just expecting bot side, to be honest. Does kind of look like accelerating your Lucian Nami even further could be the play. Especially when Lissandra's not kind of that quintessential wave clear mage that...
Ooh, Frozen Tomb here used out on SD as well as the Ignite from that spell book, but Pretender is going to be okay. He does have 2 corruption pots used now. Snare landed from Nesty as he does get Pretender extremely low. No teleport available for this LeBlanc because of what was used for the Herald.
Yeah, we'll just have to go for a reset of his own. And Bolin hasn't actually lost any plates just yet. Might lose one soon, though. Looks like it's going to be picked up by Eminem here. And so far, it's only a small gold lead, but it's a significant one, especially if you look at the ADC items. And as we said before, you know, in the playoffs so far, and honestly throughout the regular season, Frank, they almost never lost when they have this gold lead in the early game. They're so consistent at being able to close out with their leads. Still remains in touching distance for sure, though. Culling comes out. Ooh, I have to say, it's probably wasted here by Eminem. Doesn't really get a whole lot for it. And using that ahead of the Dragon could be a little risky. We'll see if Frank decides to start this up. Maybe instead want to just wait for the culling again. Or even just return the waves and secure priority first. I think they probably still win the fight even without it. They are just very spiked on this Lucian. Looks like they are just going to make sure that Eminem can get that bot priority first. Try and make sure that this isn't a contest at all, just by establishing so much control before anything ever starts. Hana, maybe can look mid.
Oh, Pretender is going to have to use that ult to get away. So LeBlanc now, no ult available. Frozen Tomb just not up as well. He'll drop bots. Should be some plates now going over to Eminem to just advance him forward just that much more on this Lucian. Cascada's going first item BT, so I feel like that's an answer almost to not having that Thresh Lantern to get you away from the culling and being able to instead sustain up. As Cleanse now used because of that Gravitum snare from Cascada.
Cascada is very low on mana. Will be forced to reset, and it looks like it will be matched by Eminem, who most likely has that Gale Force. So you'd expect now Lucian Nami definitely to start looking for those fights. Yeah, it's so spiked. It is the BT completed by Cascada. And like you said, might be some sort of option, but it can be difficult, right? Because a lot of the time you get culled and actually just get taken down straight away. We'll see, though. It looks like members pinging on towards that Mountain Dragon. You have to expect Hollow looks to start this up. Pulling it out.
You have to think so, and I want to also point out that it has solo kill going for quite a late cull in this game, so is getting a little bit extra gold just from this farm lane that is happening in the top lane. So that'll be very nice for him as that looks to be completed very shortly. But Dragon will be started up and it is down to half health. It doesn't look like there'll be much option to contest here from DCG. And it will just be going to their lanes and collecting some CS.
Nice pickup there by Frank, I think, to get that drag. Like you said, there was a bit of CS picked up in the meantime by DCG, but there wasn't really any big trade coming out. There's no towers or anything dropping. And that bot tower, since it got heralded, is getting a little low. Maybe Pretender can look to put the finishing touches on that. I have to think, probably does win the 1v1, at least for now, but has to be quite careful of the fact that this is definitely not a 1v1, and Hana, he's around bot side. Henry's level 11 versus level 10, but he has to be real careful. He doesn't have any vision on the bot side, and Hana is in the area. Culling comes out.
Used isn't going to manage to break. It does only just, but between the Bloodthirster as well as the Severum and Lulu Shield, doesn't really manage to do too much damage, and the Bloodthirster will get him back up nice and healthy in no time.
Yeah, so the solution here is just to face tank the whole thing. It will be a bit different, I think, when the mandate is completed as well, but at least for now, actually looking pretty solid. It is a 2k gold deficit at this 15 minutes here for the side of DCG, which is something they're, I want to say, fairly used to, honestly. A lot of the time they do enter that mid-game slightly behind and still manage to make it work. Frank Esports, though, I think definitely in their comfort zone. Have a comp that has a lot of options as well as the lead that they're very comfortable with having. As the Triforce now picked up by solo kills, I think it's probably his chance now to start getting a little bit of damage done on the side wave.
Yeah, look at the damage now coming out of him. Isn't going to be able to do the hyper proc just simply because he will be in range of that tower, but just 2 auto attacks, one with the Sheen proc, is enough to take off a substantial amount of Gragas's health.
As well as, every time he crashes a wave, you can get just a little bit of damage on that tower. Nesty is actually pathing out of base to topside, so he's going to give up the bot tower and look for some sort of cheese on solo kill. If solo kill respects, this will just be free gold for Frank Esports on that bot side. I believe Nesty was just pinged out. Yeah, so I guess he was spotted. So this is a really nice win for Frank Esports. They didn't really have to do much for it, but it's perhaps the pros and cons of Nesty, right? He manages to find some of these insane engages that turn the game around, but other times when he doesn't find it, he's now pretty far behind in this 1v1, falling down pretty far behind in CS and giving up that bot tower for free, which brings the gold lead now to 3,000.
Yeah, I was going to say before that it has been quite a quiet game, but despite that, Frank's still managing to find advantages here and there. Obviously, that first blood in bot lane, certainly one of them, but again, another tower goes down. They've found themselves a dragon, and I believe this will be their second Rift Herald, so good of them. Especially with this Lucian, you do need to find these advantages, so Frank looking in a commanding position so far.
Yeah, nice and clean, as we kind of expect from, especially the regular season Frank Esports and their Game 1 and Game 2. As we will look towards this mid tower here, I think, with the Herald, and if you can break this, it makes chasing down the Aphelios Lulu on the mid wave much more viable. As Hollow, he's forced to flash away. Once again, Nesty kind of ditching priority on the side wave and looking for some sort of play. This time it works out. Flash was burned, and the top tower wasn't traded. Pretender, I think, wasn't sure whether or not he should come down. We'll keep working on the tower. So it is a nice pickup there, but doesn't really lead to anything more than just Maokai's flash.
Yep, and it will be tank Maokai this game, not the Moonstone, which we've seen occasionally. Instead, going, I guess, a more traditional build path.
I think credit to Hanabi as well, has managed to keep himself completely even in this matchup, which is obviously very, very nice. Gragas is just so tough to really do much into, but we'll now maybe see. I think Solico should have a lot of priority. What can he get done with it? Maybe camps, maybe just hits on the tower. It is Dragon spawning in just a minute now. I'm not sure if Eminem can grab that rapid fire beforehand. He's looking sort of close to it. Maybe looking for something on the mid wave. They still have that Herald. Pretender is here as well. There are a lot of numbers around mid. Feels like the LeBlanc can't really chunk at all, though.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like it is. Cascada and Hana both taking turns to tank that culling. Oh, if that chain connected, it would have been a nice chunk onto Cascada leading up to this dragon, but was not to be. Herald now used mid, so will gain a lot of priority over the mid wave. But with 30 seconds still out from Dragon, it should be able to be neutralized. Yeah, TP flank found, as well as TP coming in from Hana. Hanabi even, nice flash kick will be found onto Eminem. He's okay to flash away for now, as we do see Kaiwing go down. Can they find anything more of this? Looks like Cascada's completely safe in the back line. Orca maybe can't say the same for him. He does live for now, as Hollow is going to go down as well. We did see Orca be taken out too. Now Solo Kill coming in, finds a two-man now. Nesty getting extremely low. They will just find him as well. It's a chaotic team fight, but it's 3 for 3 as Pretender distorts away. Hana's not going to have the energy needed to be able to follow up on that Q there, and 3 for 3, a lot committed out of both teams, and I'm honestly not sure who really comes off the victor.
It was an absurdly messy fight. I feel like it might be slightly better for the side of Frank. While DCG probably have the first move on this dragon, it was a lot of gold that went over to Pretender, and I think he can maybe go for the top tower. Instead, though, looks like he's basing, so he wants to TP and come into this fight.
Yeah, they will be able to make it in time. That's their 2 teleports. Obviously, there is none to answer for DCG, as both were committed there. Dragon down to half. Hana is staying in the area, but could be a little bit too dangerous to look, as we do see now possibly another team fight. No, it will not be. They are going to disengage, and second dragon now given to Frank. That's the third of the game. And man, This game is so close, but Frank are continuously pulling just that much more ahead.
They are. They're just slowly and steadily building up that lead, and it could be the mid towers looked at not before long. Frank, be careful going this far up. You don't have any TPs.
Oh, Eminem got to land a nice culling here, as well as the bubble does be fine, Chris Carter. He's getting so low. Nesty now locking down Eminem. No cleanse available. He'll go down. Explosive cast onto Pretender. Hana looking for the follow. Another nice bubble found there as Solo Kill is trying to find all the damage needed. No AD carry. The AD carry is Nah. Is he going to find Hana too? Kaiwing will with that Nami W. And here we have 1 for 2. And they're starting to look at this mid lane tower.
I think the mid tower will finally drop here. Really nicely played in that fight there from Pretender. Managed to get here in time. Maybe looking for more.
Yeah.
Ooh, he gets the Q. Can't quite get the R as well. But that's, mid broken now. So we'll take a look at an insane series of events. So initial TP, it looks very good. But I think actually Kaiwing managed to cancel Nesty's ult. We'll kind of see here. Yeah, so he goes, I think, for the R, but it was cancelled. And that means that Eminem didn't get ulted here without the cleanse, which was very important. And then I think Solico on the side as well managed to find a lot of damage. Credit to Pretender, even in the back end. It was honestly just really nicely played after the initial engage from Frank Esports. It kind of looked like it was just over, honestly, on that engage. But, Frank, they managed to really play it kind of calm and collected, just run them around in circles. And I thought Pretender was dead here. The lead Q hit, but wasn't taken. And another fight comes out here. Pretender did not have TP, but was in the area. And Solico had to walk all the way up. And despite Eminem dropping very early, it was a lot of cooldowns used. And then Hana, he tried to overchase, couldn't really find anything. Why have been a Chris Carter on the side? Nothing, I guess. Not sure why we got the zoom on him, but like you said, the Nara kind of just became the ADC in this team fight. And it feels pretty rough situation, I think, for the side of DCG to be in now, because when you are playing a mid jungle like the like the Lissandra Lee Sin, you really have to feel comfortable going forward, but the next fight, Cleanse is up for Eminem. Solico and Pretender are both so strong. Feels like options are definitely running out in the game.
Absolutely, and I think credit to Hana, although they did end up sort of losing the trade, his sort of kick he found there onto Lucian set them up for so much success, but ultimately, while I said Nami not the biggest playmaking support, with that tidal wave, the one man to deny Nesty's ult, honestly, turned the tide of that fight entirely, you have to feel.
Nesty is doing what he can to kind of collect some waves from the top side. And it was 2 items that are now completed for Cascada. You just wonder if it's going to be too late, right? Despite Eminem not really finding a lot of impact in that last team fight, was just killed out early without the cleanse. Still feel like he's very strong, and it almost doesn't matter with how strong the solo laners are for Frank Esports. They get priority over both these side lanes, which makes it very difficult for DCG to hold on to this mid tower, as it's going to start taking some damage here. Good chunk on the Cascada.
Cascada gets low, has to Gale Force out of that LeBlanc damage. Tidal Wave used here to zone as well, but are okay so far to stop, as Pretender will be jumped on by Nesty. Nice dodges from that Everfrost, and Eminem chunked down by the tower, but holding on to this mid inner for now. Pretender now looking forward, isn't going to find anything important, but should be this tower going down.
Yeah, I think it will go down here, unless Nesty can look for another TP flank. There is another ward, but there's not enough cooldowns. Cascada's just sniped away.
Cascada is quick-scoped in the back line as we see the same happen there to Orca. Hana trying to do what he can as Nesty now in the middle of 5 guys, certainly not where you want to be. Explosive cast will land only onto Solo Kill, who knows Hanabi in return. Will they be able to get out? Pretender finds another one in the back line. Hanabi running away for his life with that phase rush, and it is going to be a 3 for 0 there as Frank are taking over this game entirely.
They really are so very far ahead now, and the 3rd dragon on the table as well. I think, DCG, they tried to go for something there. They got Nesty with another flank, but Cascada just got sniped out by Pretender so early, and with the Medjai's picked up here as well, it's going to be getting even worse. We'll kind of see, I guess Cascada was already dead, and Orca engaged on not long after. And without the Thresh, right, it is just a bit harder, I think, to position against these kind of compositions. Unfortunately, the flank from Nesty, once your Aphelios is dead, who's really going to bring the damage? Was taken out. Pretender having an amazing game on the LeBlanc.
Yeah, absolutely is. And I think questionable there from Nesty to take that claw in. I mean, ultimately, 2 members of his team already dead in that bot lane, and going to the middle of 5 guys. We do see Hollow getting charged at here. Will Twisted advance? He finds a nice knock up. Can he delay enough for his team to get here? He's done a good job. Culling comes through as well as Tidal Wave, but so far it's a 1-for-0. We will see teleport committed here from Pretender as Solo Kill kiting away in the back. Oh my, cancels that ult, and it will be Orca found by Pretender. Yes, again, Hanabi now getting kited around by Solo Kill, getting so low. Pretender looking for Cascada as Frozen Tomb used on Nesty to try and find some delay. Solo Kill will go find the big Gnar there, onto Hana as it looks like Hanabi will be going down too. This will be that 3rd dragon, if not more.
I think that should be the 3rd dragon for sure picked up, and maybe can look at this Baron after as well. I guess health bars are pretty low on the Lucian. Probably will just go for those resets, but now 22 stacks on the Medjais, and it feels like in these fights, the Frank solo laners, Solo Kill and Pretender, are just running rings around their opponents. Both champs so slippery and now so strong. DCG, I think feels like they're just out of options this game. They really don't have enough damage that can come through anymore. It's kind of up to Cascada, but so hard for him to position now.
Yeah, where can you really position? I mean, you have that Bloodthirster to sort of negate as much poke possible from this LeBlanc, but it's not a very large cooldown, and it is quite easy for the side of Frank to even deny you getting to those minion waves to heal back up, and just a QR, if you find that E, will likely almost take down Cascada entirely.
Initial engage onto Hollow kind of looked good, but you have to remember that this is a tank Maokai. He buys a lot of time, and also he, importantly, got all of his cooldowns off. Despite the culling really being wasted here by M&M, you can kind of see Solo Kill. He has a great position on the flank, and Pretender snipes Orca out very early on, which deprives Cascada from any sort of buffs, as well as deals a lot of damage onto him. And Solo Kill as well must have done so much damage in this fight, just chasing them all down. You kind of see the Frank, solo lane is constantly poking them. And with all those tools gone, who's there to punish? There really just isn't anything left. As they were all cleaned up, to return alive.
Yeah, Nesty getting extremely low. There is no Nature's Grasp available, but ultimately that Tidal Wave will force out the Frozen Tomb. Bubble doesn't land just. Solo Kill does have Mega Gnar, finds a 2-man, and will take down Nesty so far. It looks like Hana is next for this world, and it is a 2-for-0. What else can they get? It might be just turning towards that Baron. Looks like it likely will be, but Pretender doesn't look like he's done.
Certainly isn't, and now a 13,000 gold lead for the side of Frank Esports there. I'm going to look towards that Baron. There's no one really alive here from DCG that can leave their base to go contest it. It will be picked up, and I have to say this is more like the Frank we're used to, right? Finding that, honestly not a huge early game lead, but very consistent, very methodical, not really giving anything back over, and then when it gets to these team fights, they're just really exploding the game. Baron now picked up, and that gold lead escalates even more. Will they wait for the 4th dragon? Doesn't really feel like they need to. Most likely will just come for the resets and then try and pressure. You have to feel like the base should be broken here. Also want to say Kaiwing picking up the Oblivion Orb is a pretty good choice. There's a lot of healing that can come out of this Aphelios, as well as the Lee Sin, even the Gragas. So definitely is a solid pickup in this game. Has the Michaelis as well, so hard, I think, for Nesty now to really find anything. And 0-5 on a champion that he's shown us such good performances on before, but just feels like Frank are too strong.
Yeah, and Shock P-Rise towards Solo Kill's build. It is that 1v5 Gnar build. Will we see it again? Honestly, I wouldn't put it past him. He's so strong now. 4 items to 2.5. Almost 3, I guess, of Gragas, but Pretender looking for some nice poke onto Nesty. Culling committed too. Cascada won't be too upset by that, but Nesty certainly is. As Pretender going in again, does land a half-health chunk there onto Cascada, and they'll have to back off this tower. Solo Kill is in Mega, so won't be able to find much more onto mid tower yet, but as that goes down, should be able to take that one down as well. Now, are the waves going to get synced? It doesn't look like they will be, but not too much wave pressure here on the side of DCG at the moment.
Yeah, I think it does feel pretty difficult for DCG. They can't really walk up. And so much chunk is coming out from Pretender. They kind of have to force something.
Hana finds a nice kick onto Pretender. Will be gravitated as well as the Lysandra snare, but ultimately Mikhails gets him away. Nesty golden in the middle. Solo Kill on the back though, just dealing with Orca. He's going to go on now to Nesty. Can he find that one? He will. Cascada now the target. He will also go down as Gnar goes wide, but ultimately it's 4-for-0, and the game's going to be done as Pretender chases this Lee Sin around the map.
Yeah. Hana, I think he's not long for this world, is getting chased down. Pretender, he's going to pick him up. Ooh, was close, did pick him up, and I believe now it's Legendary on the long. I think has 8 kills. And in 30 minutes, 20 kills to 5. It is Frank Esports that show, you know, we might have fallen down to this loser's bracket, but we don't deserve to be here. And they absolutely annihilate DCG in game 1.
Absolutely do. It kind of looked like PCS versus OPL all over again, or OCE. I don't know, crazy performance, and oh my goodness, Pretender probably his best performance so far. I honestly think so.
It was really, really good. I think, you know, certainly in the playoffs, I think you'd have to say, and it feels like it must be Pretender or maybe Solo Kill picking up the MVP. I think those Frank solo laners just look so, so good. And I want to say, you know, very good look again for Solo Kill because was playing the tanks pretty much all previous series and didn't find the same impact, I suppose, that he's accustomed to. And I think also just the way in which he actually got his lead was impressive as well, because it kind of felt like in that side lane, not a whole lot was happening, right? CS was mainly even, was just getting prio on those side waves, but it was really, you know, if you get solo kill on a carry champion and he gets to those team fights, he's always going to make it work. And I mean, you really saw it, right?